Okay, Indices. Very difficult part of your curriculum, I have to say, but we need to know it. Okay, let's see. So we have to, they're telling us to write, and then we have, that's actually a number, they're all numbers. If we put that in the calculator and press equal, we are going to have an answer as a number. But we have to write that in a very specific form. We have to write that with p taken to a power. So we have to figure out what will be that power here. Okay, now at the end of the question, I'm going to show you a secret shortcut to that. Say nothing to anyone that you know it. But yeah, we can solve that in one little go. But anyway, it's a knowledge kind of not available yet to you, but I'm going to show you. Okay, so how do we deal with that? So I'm saying I need to start writing these items in a different form. I know that eventually I'm going to the place where I'm going to have 5 that is taken to the power. So 5 is my base, and then p is my power. And I'm saying, okay, I have this 25 here, and then here I have a square root of 5. So I need to consider, can I write them in a different way? Well, can I write 25 as 5? Yes, I can. How come? Because 25 can be written as 5 to the power of 2, isn't it? That is 25. So let's write that on top. 5 to the power of x multiplied by 5 to the power of 2. And let's not forget that that 25 is taken to the power of 3. Now, the bottom of the fraction, what can I do with that? And when you have a question with involving powers in your table, you have formulas that help you to deal with them. And how do we use these formulas? Basically, we use them to replace what is written in one way to write it in a different way. That's what we do. So here, my situation I want to consider is the one that have a square root. So I'm saying, okay, if I look at these formulas here from my table, let's just make them slightly smaller so that we can see them, all those formulas here. Okay, so if I'm looking at them, which of them have the square root? So there is a formula here that have a root. There is another formula here that have a root. Okay, so I'm saying, do I have something that look that way? Okay, so what I have under the square root is 5. So a, always remember in your formula, letter represent the same number. That's what it is. So if that my a here is 5, well, that means that I'm going to have 5 on the other side of the equation. So a is 5. Now, I don't have a number here. They have a number. How come? Because we know already that we can have square root, but we can have cubic root. And apart from that, there are other roots. There is like 4th root and 5th root and 6th root and so on. So when it is square root, which basically is the second root, that's what you have here is 2. Now, we don't write it because we know there is no first root. It starts with the second root. So that's the reason why here now, under that fraction, I'm going to have 2. So that means instead of having a square root of 5, I can write 5 to the power of a half. It is the same value. I am not changing the value. I'm just changing the way that number is written, that value is written. Okay, so I am getting there. I'm having 5 everywhere, but the only thing is that there is loads of them and I need to have just one 5. So again, I'm saying, can I change the way things are written? So what can I do here? Okay, let's have a look at that. So I have a number inside the bracket that is taken to the power, and then there is another power. So if you look across this fraction, this formula, sorry. So there is a formula that involves bracket. There is another formula that involves bracket, and there is this one here and this one here. Now, which of them looks like my situation? Yes, you are right. That's the one. I have a number that is taken to the power in bracket, and then I have another power behind it. So again, we understand that my number here that is taken to the power is 5. So a is 5. So if a is 5, that means on the other side of the equation, instead of a, we have 5. My power inside is 2, therefore P, and therefore that P here is 2. So if that is 2, then that is 2 as well. Now, P and Q, what does that mean? P multiplied by Q. So that 2 will be multiplied. And then Q is the power outside. My power outside is 3. So that means that 2 will be multiplied by 3. So my 5 can be written as my 5 to the power of 2 and to the power of 3 can be written as 5 to the power of 2 multiplied by 3. And 2 multiplied by 3, that's 6. So we are saying 5 to the power of 7 multiplied by 5 to the power of 6 over 5 to the power of a half. Okay, so I am getting there, slowly but surely. Okay, now let's have a look at the top of the fraction. So this is where I have 5 that is taken to the power and is multiplied by another 5 that is taken to a different power. So again, you look at your formulas here and saying, do you see a formula that reflects that situation? And yes, we do, the very first one. So here you have the same number, the same base that is taken to different powers. Actually, let me write this one here out so I show you how you can replace that. So if we write that formula here, so we are saying, okay, our number, our base is 5. So our A here will be 5. So we remove A and we replace that with 5. 5, 5, 5. Then the first power here, so P and P here will be what? 7. So we replace that P, and in place of that P, we put 7. The second one is 6, so that means Q here is 6, and that means this Q here is 6. So 6 and 6. So now, instead of having two of them written like that, I can write it as 1, 5 to the power 7 and 6 together. How much are we going to get? 13, isn't it? 5 to the power of a half. Okay, so I have reduced the number of 5. I have 2 now and a fraction line. So again, I'm saying, let's just remove, there's a lot of drawing here. Now, what am I looking for? For situation with the fraction. So I'm saying, where do I have a fraction line? Here I have a fraction line. Here I have a fraction line. Here I have a fraction line. So we are saying, which of them reflect my situation? So what do I have? Base is the same, and then I have a different power here and a different power here. So I'm saying that first one, I can see that base is the same, and then I have a different power on top and different power at the bottom, isn't it? So it's actually reflecting our situation. So again, let's just write it out like that with the replacement, and I show you how it works. It's so simple. So again, we identify that our A will be 5. So we replace that A with 5. So we have 5 and 5 and 5. Then we are seeing the power on the top. So P in our case is 13. So that means that is 13, that is 13. So we replace that and we put 13 and 13. And then the one at the bottom is a half. So that means Q here and Q here will be a half. So remove that and put a half and a half. So instead of having that as a fraction, I can write that as 5 to the power of 13 minus a half. And again, we put that in the calculator, press equal, and we get is 25 over 2. So yes, we have arrived at our answer. Now, the shortcut. So let me write that again. I show you, you can get it in one go. So 5 to the power of 7 multiplied by 25 to the power of 3 over square root of 5. And we are saying we're not changing the value of it. We are just saying that it should be written as 5 to some sort of n power, and we have to figure it out. So like we said, this number here is the base. This number here is my power. And that equal, and this number here, this is outcome of multiplication. Because when I take P, let's say, to the power of 3, what does that mean? 5 multiplied by 5 multiplied by 5. An outcome of multiplication is called product. So out of these three elements, I do have the base, I do have the product. What I don't have is the power. So in maths, we have one thing that I can say, I am looking for power. Now, this is a pretty long sentence. So in maths, we have this shortcut that's called log. And that means I'm looking for power. And then we are saying, well, what base? The base is 5. What the product? That is the product. And when we put that in the calculator and press equal, we get the power of 25/2. Now, in your calculator, how do you put that? You need to look for the bottom that has log and then has one square here and then another square here. And once you press that and see that on your calculator, so you put your 5 here and here you put your product. And then divided by square root of 5, you press equal, and then your calculator will tell you 25/2 will give you the power. But shush, this is a secret way of doing it. So very quickly in one go, if you know how to use your calculator, you know how to know the answer here.